of the entire group of Jalmitra, which initially started with 3 of us and then became 8, and then kept fluctuating between 8 and 9 numbers. And then eventually today we are about 200 plus on the WhatsApp group, but then indirectly the coverage is also larger. That's the kind of community we have. So I'm also very happy to share that Dr. Annapurna Kamath, who is my inspiration before I began this entire work, is also on this forum. And she's been a constant support in my entire journey also. So it all began with her story. And basically, I can say I've replicated what she has done in many ways. So like I said, I would cover 3 aspects: my own motivation to engage engage myself in the revival of Rachinelli Lake effort, the community mobilization, how we went about doing, and then the impact of this Jalmitra as a community in the neighborhood, and the impact of this work on me as a person, and how I am trying to take forward some of these learnings from this particular work that I happen to get into in other spheres of my professions. So my 2 big inspirations, Ms. Usha Rajgopalan and Annapurna, I owe it all to them for teaching me or showing me that as a woman, I need not have to step back and think that I can't do anything, and I can always think that it's possible for me to go ahead and work. And this is our community group, and our local politician, MLA, Mr. Krishna Bairegowda, who also happened to be a very good support in the entire process. So any social cause or any initiative you want to do, politicians, officials, citizens, and of course other vested interests are equal stakeholders. And that is the biggest challenge when we initiate or when we want to work on any of these kind of activities. And I have no hesitation to share that, I did face a lot of vulnerable situations. I mean, I would rather speak of the vulnerable situations in such forums so that, we get how these things can be navigated. So anyway, so somehow we've managed to overcome all the issues and then continue to work on this space. So since 2014, we've been working, and till now our work is ongoing. And revival or restoration or protection of a water body is not something that you can do once and just leave it. It's a constant ongoing effort, especially in the urban context, because of the kind of changes that we are seeing in and around. That's the biggest lesson. So this is the 3 valley system that we have in Bangalore. So basically Bangalore does not have a river as such. Therefore, tanks were built about 500 years ago by people who ruled the city at that point of time to provide water to the needs of the people, be it agriculture, domestic, or other activities. So our lake belongs to this Hebbal Valley, which is in the north. This is the lake that I'm referring to, which is actually downstream lake of Jakkur Lake, which Dr. Annapurna is working for. So basically, for me, the biggest challenge was whether we should remain as a pressure group and put pressure on government to get things done, or you become partner with government and try to work with them. So this is my learning in the entire journey of last 5 years that I've seen. So there's a lot of indirect participation that can happen based on the time that citizens have, and then, which is basically, it's going to be something like a sporadic in nature kind of involvement. You just come suddenly when, there's some pressing issue, and then we come forward and then we criticize, complain, or protest against government. And maybe temporarily that particular activity or whatever that the government is doing may be stalled, but then it's always going to be temporary. It can never be permanent change. So that is one thing. So then initially, though we began as a pressure group, but then ultimately we realized that if we want to achieve the end goal that we are looking forward to, we cannot remain as a pressure group. We need to become collaborators with government, looking at other good cases around. Then the second role that we took up was try to support the government in certain things by physically we being at the lake and engaging ourselves in cleaning activities and a lot of other those kind of activities that again we felt is like, again, it's not yielding the kind of result we were looking forward to. So that is when we felt it is necessary for us to now engage with the government directly. Fortunately, I think the local urban body of Bangalore, BBMP, by then, thanks to Usha Rajgopalan, already had this mechanism of entering into an MOU with the citizen groups for maintenance of the water body. So if there was an active citizen group, around the water body consisting of local population, then government would enter into an MOU with that citizen group for maintenance of the water body. Government would revive and hand over, not hand over, basically help the citizen groups, give the role of acting as, watch and ward kind of a role for the citizen groups. So that has been our entire journey. So basically, this was a lake which was originally 160 acres or so. And then today, if I look at it, it's just about 100 acres when we started our work also. So there are multiple issues for the area to come down. One is, of course, the Development Authority was given the lake for revival. And at that point of time, a portion of the water body was converted into BDA layout, residential layout. So it's a direct violation of the water body restoration process. And then also there were the institution where I was actually working at that point of time was also sitting on the lake bed. So the government itself had allotted a bit of land to the government institution. So that is when I had just joined in 2014 and July sometime, and Mr. Vishwanath was one of the resource persons in the institution. He had come and met our director, who was an IFS officer, and mentioned to him that, there is a water body, this needs, some work to be done, and you should take the lead and things like that. So then I was officially assigned the task of do something about this water body. And so that was 2014 September. And then we started studying what is the water body and what is happening to that. Because I come from a science background, I tried to get into too much of details about the science of stormwater drain, underground drain, everything. And then I realized that's not going to help me to achieve anything in this space. So then I had to wear the hat of picking up social science knowledge and try to experiment those ways of trying to work for its, not restoration, actually for its protection, further protection, I can say. So that remaining 100 acres should not go bad. At least we should be able to. So basically, by this time, 2014, we realized that government had already invested about 19.5 crores for, budgeted 19.5 crores and invested 16 crores for the revival of the lake. And in 2009-10, government had already completed the entire restoration work in their language. And it was almost in just a matter of 2.5-3 years, because there was nobody to maintain the water body, it had gone to a state of disuse. And we were seeing things like, the entire fence was ripped apart, one area was being used as trespassing, vehicle washing, lorry truck drivers come and wash there. A lot of other illegal activities were happening at the water body area. And we also had a lot of open defecation happening, because this was a peri-urban area where, some amount of urbanization was happening at a great extent. A lot of layouts were coming. So all those buildings, when the construction workers were using this lake area as the space for open defecation. So then that is when we said that we've got to do something about it and continue to work on this. So actually, what we did initially was, from the institution, we tried to give out a message like this after studying a little bit and then trying to understand what is happening to the water body, made a complete nice study of the water body. And we gave out a call like this through newspaper inserts. I think 3 times we did. First time we gave out the newspaper insert saying that on 1st August 2015, we're going to have an event where we're inviting all the stakeholders. And we would like you to be here because as citizens, we as an institution are taking the effort to form the citizen group for protecting this water body. And we also had engaged a lot of school children to go around and hold rallies and campaigns. Any wild guess on how many people do you think would have turned up on that day? Any wild guess? Twice newspaper inserts sent out and then rallies conducted 2-3 times. Wild guess.
Yeah, my guess is you should be able to count them using fingers.
Okay. Thank you for being realistic. I think Ms. Mansi also said 4 some numbers. It was exactly like that. It was very, very disheartening to us. But then we were prepared that, we may not get the response. So we had actually invited one college and one school also to be there on that particular day so that the activity does not stop. So symbolically, we started off with the event at that point of time. We had also heard of other citizen groups which were acting. So we had invited them earlier who had worked. 2-3 of them, they also joined. And that's how the journey started off. So to me, it was a big shocker because I thought there will be good number of people who will come, and now I'll just hand over the responsibility. They will take it forward. My job is only going to remain of trying to maybe collect the water, analyze the water, or, send out official letters from the department. That's what I was thinking. But then that was an eye-opener to me to understand that people, two things that came to my mind at that point of time is, one is either people don't care. Second thing is people don't have trust. Third thing is people are not willing to come forward and lead the initiatives. They're okay if anybody else is leading the initiative. They're fine to just come and, play a small role of following that whichever agency or whichever individual is leading. That was the very clear message that I got from that particular thing. So then that event was quite disturbing. And then I started, along with 2-3 people who were already there in the group, we sort of started spending our Saturdays mornings and Sunday mornings at the water body, trying to be physically present to ensure that at least the open defecation stops, and then we clean the place and things like that we started. Eventually, walkers who were walking actually on the road, the water body is inside, started seeing us, and then they started asking us, what are you doing? Why are you doing? And things like that. So we started telling them that we are here for the protection of this water body, and we are individuals who are starting this effort. If you're interested, please join us. So gradually, in a matter of next 4-5 months, regular cleaning activities we did. And from the institution also, we sort of said we'll adopt about 100-meter stretch, and we cleared it, started cleaning it, and making it mandatory for the hostel students in the institution to spend their early mornings at the water body walking around. That way, we were hoping that we would eliminate the open defecation to some extent. And then gradually we started writing petitions to Pollution Control Board and the BBMP local office to ensure that they issued notices to the violators. People, if the construction firms, wherever construction activity was happening, if they had not provided toilet facilities to them, that's the reason why they were coming here. So like that, we started working, and gradually open defecation was controlled. And then we as a community group also wanted to test whether we are sustaining the interest that we have. Like I said, 3 to 8 to 6 to, that fluctuation was happening in 5-6 months. And then we did one event on January 3rd of 2016, where we saw 8 of us were working together, holding regular meetings, trying to understand what needs to be done and all. And that particular event gave us confidence, because by then people had seen us contribute something on the ground. One is our own 100-meter stretch that we had cleared, and some of us started adopting between 2 poles, small area, and then we started maintaining it ourselves. So all that had already given some amount of confidence to the people in the area. And so that event saw very good footfall of people. And that gave us the confidence for the 8 of us that now we can take forward this initiative, and we should plunge into this whole thing and engage with government and start getting things done. So that's how we formed this group called as Jal Mitra. We called ourselves Jal Mitra. Intensive discussions were held to see what should be the name, and in a democratic way, we arrived at the name as Jal Mitra, and it was officially registered as a trust. And then there was no looking back. We started writing to government, working to government. Of course, at that point of time, the advantage was because I was in a government institution and my boss was very supportive. We were able to engage with government agencies easily. So we started writing to the government for the needs that we had, like the fence has to be put up and some pending works to be completed and things like that. That's when MLA also supported us very well, and he spoke to the government agencies after we met him. And gradually, by 2017, the entire whatever problems we had, at least at the basic problems that we had of fencing, bund area not being completed, walkway around the entire, to walk around the entire perimeter of the water body, all that was taken care of. We also had fishing activity that was going on under some contract of the government. So fishermen also were sort of acting as the first level of defense. So if there is anything happen to the water body, any leakage, any sewage entry, then obviously it affects their harvest. So they were also actively working with us to tackle this kind of sewage entry or leakages and things like that. So at that point, a little before that also, we tried to work with the BWSSB. Like I said, it was the peri-urban area where some of this area was merged into the Bangalore urban local body. So we connected with the BWSSB to convince them that we needed an underground drainage in that particular area. The project was on, but then the project was supposed to take off after 1 or 2 years. So we were able to successfully, through petitioning, able to influence BWSSB to sort of advance that project from 2 years later to 2015 itself and lay the underground drainage. But that particular project, after our water body, is still not complete, even after 3 years. And that's a challenge that we are still facing. So I would say the entire journey of this whole process that I've put in the timelines here began with creating awareness among people, and then also giving them the kind of knowledge about why you need to protect, what happens if you don't protect, and things like that. A sense of attitude for, yes, I want to be involved, had to be inculcated among the people. And then various people had different skills in the entire process. Someone was good at managing public in the WhatsApp group. Someone was very good at documenting the processes that we were doing, and talking to the government officials, various other skills. Everything brought together, and ultimately that's exactly what led to the actual participation of people in the entire protection process. So these are some of our images of, we would initially for 6 months think of us as Paura Karmikas. We clean and go, and then the very next day, even within 2 hours later, you come back and see you have so much garbage, black bags. Women, I'm sorry to say this, but then yes, we have seen women come by cars and just flung the garbage bags. Poultry waste would be lying here and there, and a lot of these kind of experiences we had. And gradually, we were also lucky enough to have our Joint Commissioner, Mr. Sarfaraz Khan, a very pro-people kind of an officer, who sent his people to support us. He saw us working, and then he sent his people. And this is the photograph of, the last photograph is of BBMP gangmen who were actually meant for doing the flood evacuation work and things like that. They came in and they supported in clearing another 500 meter stretch. So that's how gradually the trust in among the government officials was also built. So we had to take along this journey, first people, government officials, politicians, everybody, all of us had to work together in this entire journey. And then we also started involving school children. So there was one school teacher who got inspired by a little bit of what posting we were doing on the Facebook. And she expressed interest that I want to involve my school children. This is an international school, so they had this curriculum called as community activities and things like that. So we gradually converted their Friday 2 hours of regular calendar time. It's the academic timetable itself, that 2 hours of class to be done at the lake itself. So that way, the parent volunteers, the gardeners of the school, and the children started making their presence at the water body. It further attracted attention from the government authorities and the local politicians to think that, yes, we need to support them, support this particular group. That's how it all started. So several events. And then sometime in 2016, April, since we wanted to officially get a lot of other improvements done to the water body and also protect it. So we were advised by the BBMP to sort of enter into a tripartite MOU, because we as a group had taken a call that we don't want to get into any financial matters. We wanted to remain apolitical and also not deal with the money ourselves in any way. Like, we had the opportunity to take CSR money into our account and then get the money deployed. But we said we will not do that, simply because we felt that can disturb the harmony in the community group. So we didn't want to do that. So we joined hands with another NGO called as United Way for Bangalore, which was already having their Wake the Lake campaign. So they started supporting us, and then gradually further improvements started happening to the water body. So we tried to make use of all the important events like, the World Earth Day, Environment Day, festivals, everything. It's a common practice in Bangalore. I won't say only we did this. It was already happening, and we also tried to replicate the same things here to engage community in these events. So in all these events, we would have one small event to just talk about the water body and tell about how the citizen group is trying to work. And then gradually people started getting attracted, and they started asking us, how do you want us to support and things like that. So I'll tell you one simple example, one event we wanted to have. And so in the night around 9 o'clock, I posted in the group saying that I'm contributing 3,000 rupees for this particular event. It needed some amount of money at that time. So how much ever we can pull in, let's pull in. If we can't manage, then we'll see, we'll think about it. Next day morning, 10 o'clock, you will not believe there was already 1.5 lakh in the account of the trust, and another 1 lakh rupees was pledged by the people. So that's the kind of trust we were able to build in the community. Just in 12, 13 hours, if people are able to commit even small amounts of money and that much. So that gave us further confidence that, people trust us, and we are accountable also to sort of ensure that whatever are the needs of the people are also taken into consideration. So that's when this whole dilemma of, because I come from an environmental science background. So for me, it was more of not too much of concrete work to happen at the water body. It should be more from the point of view of ecological services point of view and things like that. So that I felt was too idealistic to achieve in this kind of an environment. So some compromise to cater to the needs of people around, yet convincing them that this is not how we want it, like having those, paver blocks with the concrete slabs and things like that. But fortunately, I think a lot of other citizen groups that have been working have also managed to influence the BBMP to make sure that they don't make those kind of path in the water body. So it is still that mud layer kind of a thing. So that is what it is. So this is after the restoration. These
Yeah,
are
looks
some of the
beautiful.
images.
Looks beautiful.
To me, when I feel very low, these are the photographs, or I just go to the water body and then feel revived. So these are some other infrastructure that eventually got done because people needed. Kalyani, of course, was something that the government itself had incorporated in its plan. All of us know that some of our cultural practices require idle immersion in the water or celebration of festivals in the water. So Kalyani is made by, it's an inbuilt design in the model that the government has adopted, where they build that, and so all those activities can happen in the Kalyani. A gazebo, because we had already converted the lake into a classroom for 3-4 schools and 2 colleges. One engineering college was also working with us, where the civil engineering students were being taught couple of some things, and also electrical engineering students. We were involving them in trying to see how you can solve the problems of the water body. Simple things like aeration of the water body. We don't have electricity there, therefore how do you try and make use of solar aerators to make sure that aeration is maintained in the water body to take care of the oxygen. Like that, small projects and different things we were trying to work with the students at that point of time. So another thing is, this is called as a constructed wetland. Basically, this is again a design which the government itself had, and they had got it done in 2 acres of space. But yes, the classic problem of engineering, problem. Designs are made by somebody, contractor makes your actual project implementation there. So there were some issues the way this was constructed, because of which it would work only when heavy flow of water was there, not otherwise. So we tried to make sure that we make it become functional, at least some improvement to the functionality of this particular constructed wetland, and some re-engineering. I won't say thorough, complete, proper re-engineering, but then some modifications to the flow and flow levels of the water into this and everything. We tried experimenting, and to some extent we are successful. So which was actually functional only during 1 month in the year is now functional for at least 7 months in the year. There's more to be done to make sure that this works at its 100% capacity. So this is basically by gravity, water from upstream flows into it, and the plants absorb the organic content in the water, and the water gets purified, and the water that comes out would appear just like how your mineral water bottle would appear. So this is a natural phyto remediation method, I would say. Not our innovation. Government had already got it done. We were only trying to make sure that it functions well. And these are some festival and other events that happen at the water body, the Kalyani that I mentioned, basically to encourage community. I mentioned about sustaining community engagement and things like that. A lot of people don't get connected when we say, come, let us protect water body. So they want to be engaged in maybe, their festivals or being part of some other events and things like that. And we are also sort of encouraging, this is again something that I've picked up from Jal Poshan group, of trying to organize musical events at the lake to again, aggregate people and then bring them together. We are trying to do those kind of events also at the water body. So before I close, 2 things I want to tell. So this particular experience of working on this water body has given me I can say I have a sort of conflicting situations and then nice, comfortable situations also when I interact with the local politicians and also with some other citizen members in the citizen group. That has been an ongoing issue. However, whatever said and done, this has given me a lot of confidence as an individual, first thing. Second thing, it has taught me many things about negotiating skills. The science itself is not, we may be 100% correct when we're talking about science, but the way we have to communicate or to get it done, there are other things that we have to do, was very, very important lesson that I learned. So right now I'm actually employed with the Department of Panchayat Raj, Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Department on an 18-month fellowship, which is basically a fellowship called as Indian Administrative Fellowship. So through this fellowship, I'm sure all of you know how our rural governance happens. We have an elected body, and in Karnataka, we have, and we are lucky to say that we have 50% reservation for women in the elected body. So we also have other governance mechanisms at the grassroots level, things like, standing committees, meetings happen for taking decisions, village health, sanitation and water committees are there. And then we also have the JJM mission is ongoing, Jal Jeevan mission and things like that. So I'm also trying to influence to a very, in a very minimal way to ensure that the focus of these people on the ground is more on the source sustainability and not just on getting the taps. It's called as Har Ghar Jal or Mane Mane Ke Gange in Karnataka. So everywhere the focus is get the tap. But then what about the source? So that attempt also through, working with the department to see to it that we also take up work on source sustainability is another thing that we are trying to do. And last one bit I want to add is because of our community events that we have been having at the lake, a lot of colleges, institutions and schools and individuals are working with us. So there is definitely an impact on them both directly and indirectly. When I say directly, it is about we try to introduce the concept of the institutions that work with us have to do a water audit mandatorily in their campus. And then they have to interact with experts and then find their own solutions. We said we are not experts. We can be experts, but then instead of that, you find your own solutions is what we said. So there are many institutions that are trying to work on solving or trying to do the water budget and try to find ways for solving their problems. One by one, people are trying.